That's where we'll start. We'll go deeper on this with angel investor Jason Calacanis. And Jason, let's widen the aperture because, you've been tweeting, I've been tweeting, we've been spending some time looking at Fintech, this Coinbase thing and other companies like it in the crypto space that are, touting Fintech and offering really high yields on accounts that aren't quite savings accounts, but they're marketing them that way. How much of this is technology that's real? How much of it is, Fintech snake oil?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. And there's a lot to unpack there. Max Levchin, just to talk about Affirm for a second, is an exceptional product founder. And so there is no surprise by anybody in the technology industry that he would build, a category leading exceptional product that has this kind of uptick and people really loving the product. 7 million members, they can't be wrong. This is not a fluke that he built this product or that people love it. Sure. Lots of valid concerns, and that's what great entrepreneurs do, is they systematically work through them. Do we have enough vendors? Who exactly is using this product is a super valid question. Why are they using it? We have record savings. So, the most cynical view of this might be, well, maybe these customers shouldn't be using this product, or maybe they don't have the money and this is incenting some purchases that maybe the person shouldn't be making. And obviously retailers love getting incremental sales, just like mortgage lenders like to get those incremental sales during the Great Recession or prior to it and causing it. So, there's tons of reasons to be concerned, but with somebody like Max Levchin, I would look at what other cards is he going to turn over. This is a product-led founder. That's what you want to bet on. In tech, is somebody who's a product visionary who can execute, and that's Max.
Yeah, and if he rolls out loyalty incentives, the equivalent of points for a credit card and membership, it might be game over. I use a credit card, but mostly for that. I pay it off, more often than every month, frankly, but it's because I want those loyalty benefits. Once that comes in, this could really blow up the credit card business, or at least a significant chunk of it.
And you have some people who have large treasuries like Apple, and I don't know if you've gotten these offers, but I get them all the time, which is like, hey, buy a new laptop. We got a new M1 laptop out, buy it and make 4 easy payments. I'm like, well, I can afford the laptop. I don't know why you're asking me for this, but it's obviously this concept is capturing the imaginations of not just consumers who've always kind of liked to spread out payments, but it's obviously capturing the imaginations of companies like Apple. And so this will become a standard, and it's very hard to create a standard in technology. And so we'll see where he takes it. And there's a lot of product extensions, as you mentioned, he could add to this, like credit cards. And it reminds you of like a lot of the other fintech companies. You mentioned Coinbase adding a loan product where you can loan out your Bitcoin, or maybe the Robinhoods or Publics of the world, or Wealthfronts. I'm in two of those names. Going out there and adding savings or Roths or margin loans, whatever it happens to be. And so, this is great innovation in fintech, and you want to make sure you have guardrails. And I think the SEC, in relation to Coinbase having a lend product, is exceptionally concerned about crypto, systematic risk, black swan risk, and they're just asking people to pump the brakes, because for every good actor like Coinbase you have in the space, or Jeremy Allaire's company, USDC, Circle, making their coin, you've got a Tether, and you've got these other rogue marketplaces and exchanges that are offshore and claim they don't have any, they're not domiciled anywhere. It's like a really weird group of people running some large amounts of money. What could go wrong?
Jason, you raised so many interesting topics here. I want to first get you to reflect on what you just raised in terms of the regulation of this space, particularly the way Coinbase has responded to the SEC. What do you anticipate to come of that? And what do you think the implications will be for the industry? Do you think more clear regulation could actually end up benefiting these players?
Yeah, for those who don't know, Brian Armstrong, who is iconoclastic, I think would be a good term for him as a CEO, decided that when the SEC sent him, some notices and asked for some information, as they tend to do, without giving you exactly what's going on. They do a lot of the document requests. I've been on the other side of it. It's kind of a weird experience. But, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt that they're acting in the best interests of consumers in the industry and trying to avoid a black swan event or people losing money. So I do think the SEC is, a very principled group of people. He seemed to think the opposite, and he went out and dunked on them and said that they were bullying him essentially, and he wasn't going to stand for it. That's a bold stance to take if your business is a financial business that needs to work with them. But perhaps he does have a point that they could give some additional clarity. But there is a fine line, right? These crypto people want no rules, and they want to experiment, and they want to claim that, you know, the regulators are being too hard on them and they're stifling innovation. But, you know, they don't want to. A lot of the crypto people want to pay taxes. They didn't understand that you had to pay taxes on trades. If you watch that community over the last 5 or 10 years, they were incredibly unsophisticated when it came to just paying their taxes and understanding what they were trading. Now, they made a lot of money and they were right, but the industry has to grow up when it hits this level of scale. So I think, you know, it was weird. I can't believe that somebody advised Brian to take that approach. Yeah. I don't know if that's wise, but it's certainly going to be entertaining for us here on CNBC.
Yeah, we will be watching that. But Jason, I want to get your broader sense of what's going on in the fintech industry. You know, there's been so much consolidation. We're seeing so many of these players, whether it's a Square or PayPal, move into different categories and try to become a one-stop shop. What do you anticipate is going to come next? Will we see even greater consolidation?
Well, I think what you'll see is a singularity of money where, you know, a company like Square, Robinhood, Stripe, they're all starting to come to the position that, you know, they are essentially like Amazon Web Services or a complete platform like the Google platform or the Microsoft operating system for all financial products. So, you know, for Robinhood to start in trading, add crypto, Coinbase to start in crypto, maybe they'll add trading. Everybody's going to add savings accounts, whether it's you taking loans out against your crypto, somebody else borrowing it. So this singularity where everybody has every feature is what happened, you know, when we saw productivity software, right? Everybody's going to have a Slack competitor built in. Everybody's going to have a Zoom competitor built in. Sure, there'll be best in class apps, but this was turning into a suite of products. And I think what this means is massive competition. And what we saw in software was incredibly powerful for the consumer. Microsoft had a stranglehold on the Office suite of products. Google launches Google Docs, makes it 10% of the price. Your margin is my opportunity. And so you're going to see this incredible, vibrant marketplace that America produces through democracy and, you know, a steady hand on regulation, where innovation and incredible founders make products that are great for consumers. The consumer is going to win in all of this because it's going to be a dogfight. And you know, somebody's going to jump the fence here in the big companies. You're going to see Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, one of them, or maybe two of them are going to say, you know what, this is going to be a critical part of our future. And I don't think that these large at-scale finance companies, if the regulators allow it, I think we might see some very significant M&A activity.
That's interesting, Jason. You know, your point is so good, and I wonder, with the caveat is that the guardrails hold, as you point out, but assuming that they do, you're removing so much friction in the flow of money, in consumer spending. It's deflationary or at least disinflationary in financial services. I have to imagine on a macro level, just on consumer and economic growth, it's going to be a massive tailwind.
Yeah, I mean, the efficiency of this and the removing of friction, we see it all the time. We start with Uber and Airbnb and your ability to find a place to stay or to move an object yourself or a package from one place to the other. It just changes the world. In fact, if you think about what idea did consumers embrace the most, it was give me whatever I want to buy within 48 hours, right? Amazon won our generation of entrepreneurship. And it was for that very simple idea. There's a very simple idea here is let me control my money. Don't screw me on the fees. Don't nickel and dime me. And let me have some agency and control of my life. And I think that is a trend that transcends just finance. This is a trend we're seeing in the gig economy. And I think it'll be the trend of post-pandemic, which is if we ever get out of this thing, if people please get your vaccines. I don't want to go there. I know it's a charged topic, but this having agency over your life is such an important topic. We have a group of people who during the pandemic reassessed everything. And we have plenty of friends that we all know who said, you know what, I'm going to retire early. Or another group of people who said, I'm going to start my own company. I can use these tools. I'm using them right now. I got Zoom, I got Slack up. Wait a second, I can start my own business just by opening a new tab and registering a domain name and using Squarespace or using Stripe, all these tools. So this having agency over your life, which consumers and Americans are voting for when they go work at, you know, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, or start their own company over going to do shift work has resulted in compensation and freedom and joy for Americans that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, with their like nonsensical demands, all those demands they had the last couple of years have been far exceeded by what these companies are offering. They demanded $15 an hour. Bezos and the Amazon team just offered people their bachelor's degree. So they're demanding that the government pay for college, and Amazon's offering it, and they're offering double federal minimum wage.
And we're going to be talking to Andy Jassy about that next week. A little plug on Tech Check, his first major interview as CEO. But speaking of innovation, give us your view, thank you, on, as a prominent angel investor, on what innovation in the runway looks like in this kind of COVID period that we're still in. I talked to Pat Grady at Sequoia earlier this week about specifically that. I mean, focusing on growth stage VC. Here's what he said about the environment right now.
In March of this year, what we said was, okay, now that you're coming out of the curve, go ahead and accelerate. Unfortunately, in the last couple of months, the rollout of the vaccines has kind of tapered. And so I would say that fog has descended onto the road. It's not so clear that companies should be accelerating anymore. And so we're probably in the midst of more indecision now than we were a few months ago or even a year ago. A year or so ago, it was pretty clear you want to slow down. A few months ago, it seemed clear that you want to speed up. Today, we're kind of stuck in the middle.
Jason, what's the environment you're seeing for innovation? Surely the very smallest, newest companies still need to accelerate, but you seeing that same fog?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain type of fear in this crisis that's different than 9/11 and different than the Great Recession. Those were very acute events, and this one is a very drawn out, long, speculative, debatable one with a lot of infighting. Obviously, the majority of tech companies and software companies benefit from this. Not that they want to, but people are in front of their computers more often. You take out people's commutes and you give them better computers and you force them to adopt new technology. That's going to create a lot of efficiency. So the efficiency that's accreting to tech companies that embrace remote work is phenomenal. You get rid of middle managers who were, performative managers at office spaces. They get fired. You hire people in a couple of days. They're up and working the next week. They're highly productive, and talent is moving from company to company. So, you lose culture, but you add velocity and you add talent. So I'm seeing, companies are like, yeah, we lost our, VP of whatever, but we have like 4 more candidates, and one of them's in Canada and one of them's in Baja. I mean, and they just change a tab. They log out of one Slack instance, they log into another, and they're back to work. That level of efficiency has never existed before. So I'm really seeing 2 things, and one of them's inspiring, one of them's really disturbing. The inspiring one is the companies that are working, oh my Lord, their efficiency is crazy. They've reduced costs 20, 30, 40% on salaries, on office space. And then every employee is 20, 30% more productive, and I think happier. So the winners are just moving faster, faster, faster with more talent. And then I'm seeing a lot of like new money coming into the space, which, Hollywood experiences this, and so does our industry. Dumb money comes in. They assume that we, the early stage investors, have done all this work. Then they say, you know what? When we see these companies IPO, when we see Affirm IPO or Uber or Airbnb or Stripe, whatever, we see what happens. So we want to cut you off and we want to make a bigger bet before you. Now, sometimes that works out for somebody like Yuri Milner. He crushed it. Yeah. But what I'm seeing is really disturbing. No diligence, no board seat, no governance. What we're seeing with Elizabeth Holmes, at scale, there's 10 of those right now, is my guess. And, it's not going to be like a deranged Elizabeth Holmes, like sociopathic lying, which is, I think it's like a personality thing for her more than anything. I think it's going to be like actual fraud. Like we had this amount of revenue. We stated this amount. We doctored the books. People did diligence and they didn't check. They don't have audit rights. It's going to be, there's going to be 10 of these because there's 800 unicorns, right? 1%, 2% are going to be frauds. That's why we need business journalism, right? Jason Calacanis. Business journalism and governance. Yes, both. Governance, anybody remember? It's there for a reason. It's there for a reason. Jason Calacanis, always great to have you. Great to be with you. Yeah.